yesterday we were talking about and discussing about education. Today we shall talk about research. And in fact, this strategic plan, if we are talking about the strategic plan, there is no way to separate education and research. So I will talk about research and education. That is for period 2018-2021. How come that I'm going to talk about this topic? In fact, Branislava made me, or better to say in a polite way, she proposed me. When I think we were in Florence and we were discussing about future of our faculty, and I told her that how strategy is very important. We were discussing about that, and finally she proposed me. Of course, I accepted, and I took this event as a good opportunity to prepare kind of presentation. I have to admit that it wasn't so easy because, you know, there are a lot of literature you can find everywhere about strategic plan, but it is kind of template, you know, and whatever you see, it's like, you know, where we are, where we want to be, and how to get there. That is the most important topic, and you know, that is always kind of template, and what I noticed that is always somehow the same. So I wanted in this case to be as original as possible and to focus exactly on our problem here in Novi Sad. So the structure of my presentation, I will start with introduction, trends and challenges, ambitions, research, education, internationalization, implementation and progress of our work. So as for Faculty of Agriculture, in previous period, for strategic plan, we use mainly national and EU programs which are related to reform of higher education and research development. And the most important activity from that point of view was one campus project we were running, that is support network for improvement of the strategy planning. And we use in previous period somehow project output, but that is a kind of template we were facing first time with that issue, and whatever, that was very, very good for us. We achieved very good results and used that as a very first step in strategic planning. Also, there are a few documents which are approved by Faculty Teaching Research Council, and for example, also this application for future period, for next period 2018-2021, could be considered as a kind of document which is related to strategic plan. So where we are now. So I found this very interesting few sentences, and I will quote it. So in 21st century, higher education around the world have been struggling under two types of pressure. First one is financial, of course, because public funds has been decreasing. And second one is political, economical, social demands and on higher education, which have been increasing. That is what Antonia was talking about yesterday. She started with RRI activities, and you will see in this presentation when you see it's all about RRIs, and somehow background is with RRI, and every single question, almost every single question is related to strategic plan is related to RRI. So nowadays higher education are taking on more responsibility for their own future planning, and they need to further strength and capacity for strategic performance. So definitely in 21st century, higher education institutions are somehow under the pressure. So you see here what's going on with scientists, with journalists, publications. Everybody has their own demands, and that is a kind of pressure. Current situation of our faculty is partly, of course, consequence of previous activities, and key points in previous period, of course, were quality of education and research, and regional and international cooperation. So, and there are of course positive aspects in some aspects of the previous plan, and that means that some things we should keep. Where are we now? These are main facts and figures: teaching number of students, teaching, non-teaching staff, graduate student, master, veterinary medicine, PhD, number of programs, bachelor, master, PhD, running horizon projects. There are 4 running horizon projects. Out of these 4 projects, 2 are we coordinate with 2 projects, and number of publication in last 5 years is average is over 100, which is not so bad. So some strengths should hold on. In 2 years ago, we achieved one great result according to QS, that is very good, prestigious, I would say, world university ranking by subject. That means university by agriculture and forestry. In our case, we were in the between the 250 and 300 place, and this year we improved our position, and now we are like 241, which is quite okay for us. The most important criteria by that QS ranking is academic reputation, age index, and citation per paper. So very interesting for this project is position of our partner is this project. For example, Boku is on 39th place. Florence is between 100 and 150, which is quite okay for this project, and definitely we should focus on this partner. Definitely Boku is our strategic partner in last 5 years, and I do hope that the same will be with Florence. So some people are wondering how come that we achieve such a great result. So, but there of course there are different criteria according to Universitas 221. There is a ranking according national higher education system, and there are different criteria, and one of the criteria is resources and outputs which are related to economic development. From that point of view, Serbia is on the very first place. So what does it mean? That means that investment in research are on the low level, but achievements are quite okay. You will see here, for example, investment in research according to statistics in Serbia is 0.3 of GDP. That means that is 10 times less than EU average. In EU average is 3, 4, even 5, depends on the country. But in our case, it's like this. So with this fact, I should completely stop with any discussion. But of course, we have to fight and we have to work on our position. So that means that international, in particular EU funding, became more and more important, and that is our main direction. You see, financial position, our turnover is 8 million euros, 60% is public service, 40% is our own budget. So as for, in particular, as for budget, our system is always under pressure, and somehow that became that is a challenge for us. Trend and challenges. So there is one global issue. You see, growing population. By 2005, it's estimated there will be 9 billion people. So we have to save natural resources because, in particular, because agriculture is very responsible for soil and water. So there is one problem is urbanization that is on global scale, but we are facing with another problem that is rural development. That is one of the most important problems in agriculture here, not only in Serbia but in whole region. But at the same time, we have to think about sustainable agriculture production, real agriculture production. In order to resolve all this problem, there is need interdisciplinary approach, combination of fundamental and applied research. Basically, we are oriented to applied research, but at the same time, we have to think about this interdisciplinary approach because it is supported by national and EU projects. You see, EU priorities linkage strong scientific centers with research institute to contribute innovation and public, that means, a private partnership. This is, I found it in one very interesting paper, which is by Francis Jensen. I know this guy very well. He is outstanding researcher in agriculture, in particular agroecology. And they published recently one paper in Agronomy Journal, which is well known. Whoever is dealing with agronomy knows for that journal. And they stated 6 proposals about the future agriculture and food. Recognize and accommodate nature resources limit and global climate change, adapt to human population imbalance with available resources, and so on and so on. I don't want to read every single, but whoever is interested in that paper, I can send him, because they, in a very interesting approach, they work out every single issue. So this is very, for us dealing with agriculture, this paper is quite okay, in particular if you're talking about strategic plan. Yesterday at Antonia were talking about responsible research and innovation. So I don't want to introduce with common things. She did yesterday in excellent way, I have to admit, but just would like to tell what we have done here at the faculty so far. Branislava, as usually, she launched that idea, and she proposed me. You were in Spain. There was one meeting, and she told me that there was very interesting things, and she proposed me to start to deal with that issue. Of course, I have accepted that. As you can see, there are 6 key points. We found and asked people who are willing to deal with these key points. We are on a good way, and what we are so far, we have kind of draft of our RRI at our faculty. We shall write one document, consists of, let's say, 20-30 pages. We shall start, of course, with background, and then we shall work out every single key point. There will be kind of document, as I told you. It will be accepted, approved by our Research Education Council, and that will be very important, because nowadays, as you could see yesterday, there is no way to apply for any EU project if there is no this component. There is no way to make kind of dissemination in the projects, EU projects, without this component. So definitely, as I realized, responsible research innovation is one of the key points in further activities in EU projects. Trend and challenges regarding education. Of course, the most important question is number of students in all 3 levels: bachelor, master, and PhD. And you see, number is difficult to predict because demographic data indicate to decline. And that is one problem in global scale, in particular here in Europe and in our region, we are facing with. You see here what's going on with here in Serbia. Because we started to deal with that problem, because these days, in particular today, we have admission exam for new students, and we noticed that we not enroll, but by 100 students less applied than last year. That means in percentage we will have at least 20 or 30% of students less than in previous years. So that is a huge problem we are facing with, and we have to think about that. And you see, number of born child, 1997, you see 120,000. Then in what happened in 1998, and in particular 1999 during the bombing, when we crisis, and this trend goes down. Number of born child decrease, and this is a problem, serious problem we should deal with. So, but nevertheless, at global level, because changes in the job market, there is somehow in education is increasing greatly. So technology causing a revolution in education. Nowadays there is online education, and that is in one way that is opportunity, but in the other way that is a challenge. Also there is a blended learning, something completely new for me, that is a face-to-face plus online. So we need to have new skills. We participated as a faculty in several Tempus projects, and the general problem in Tempus projects is which are related to curricular development as well as structure building capacity. Problem is dissemination. In many cases, there is no good dissemination. For example, there is one problem. Acronym is CASA. I don't remember full name, but it was about teaching skills. That project was coordinated by University of Belgrade. Excellent project, to my mind, and definitely excellent results. But somehow we started with dissemination immediately after the project, and after few or several years we quit. So that is what happened in most cases if we are talking about Tempus projects. That is unfortunate. That is true. And somebody told me that Tempus projects, according to dissemination, considered to be kind of graveyard of the projects. Unfortunately, it's like that. But so we have to think about, for example, results we achieved in this project in order to apply in these new methods of teaching. Quality of education. Of course, nowadays we are talking about small-scale education, close contact between staff and students. Of course, if you're talking about basic subjects such as meteorology, I'm talking about our faculty, or mathematics, or botany, that is mission impossible, because if there are more than 100 people, we are not able to talk about that. But in third, fourth year, it is possible to apply, definitely. So we have research, we have education, and of course we have society. So that means that research and education for society, again, RRI issue. Trend and challenges again. In fact, we are continuing with that. So there is a issue changing of the names. You know what happened, for example, with during 90s. There was a crisis in agriculture, in education, all around the world, and number of students started rapidly to decrease. And most universities, agricultural universities, completely changed their strategy. All of them became universities of life science. Why? Because they introduced new approach, interdisciplinary approach, where they combine basic, fundamental, and applied science. So recently, a few months ago, I had the opportunity to talk to Vice Dean from Lille. He told me that he graduated in Wageningen, or how they say Wageningen, and he told me that they were at that time when he earned his diploma, they were about to close completely. So they completely changed the strategy, and where are they now? At the very top, top university in the life science. There is Wageningen, huge gap, and then others. So just because of another approach. So that is a good example, and we have to think like that. So, for example, Boku, it's Bodenkultur, isn't it? That is agriculture, as far as I know German language. But you are in English, you are natural resources and applied science, isn't it? So that is, if we are talking about changing of the names. Or, for example, in our case, we have field students are very, very interested in this phytomedicine. It used to be plant protection. So if you were a student, what you will enroll? Phytomedicine or plant protection? Honestly, first one. So, or landscape architecture or landscape planning. So it's tricky, but it works, you know. I'm a member of American Society of Agronomy, outstanding society, no doubt, in agriculture. And in one article in their newsletter, there is article written by president, that is Stephen Yvette, and there was one article is title is "Does it matter what we call it?" It's very, very interesting article. And for example, apart from different examples, just would like to draw your attention. He said, I quote, if Department of Agronomy changed the name in Department of Plant and Soil Science, does agronomy science disappear? No. For example, in our case, I'm wondering, I'm not sure. For example, we are coming, all of us, most of us are coming from Department of Field and Vegetable Crops. If we change in plant and soil science, will it be okay or not? What will be result? I don't know, but we should think about that. So definitely, as he says, it's all about agronomy. You know, meteorology, agrometeorology, hydrology, natural resources, crop science. So everything is tied to the science and practice in agronomy. So, and that is very interesting. So just one example how we can think about new strategy. Just one point of view. That was trend and challenges. What are our ambitions? So synergy by combining education with fundamental and applied research. And because of that, we are talking about agriculture and related science. Not only agriculture, but related science. And because of that, we have multidisciplinary approach. Continue to improve position in the region and beyond, of course, and cooperation with strategic partners. Our ambitions, you know, there is mission and vision. So whatever I read in the internet, wherever, it's about the same. We want to be as good as possible, and so on and so on. But that is a kind of template. In every single case, you will find the same things which are related to mission and vision. I mean, it's not completely the same, but about the same. Everywhere is a kind of template, you know. So before to talk about mission and vision, just would like to pay attention on few sentences I found in internet. One of them is, for example, agriculture is highest application on pure science. It touches the lives of all men and very environmental in which we live. Is that true? That is completely true. So that is should be our motto. And whoever is dealing with agriculture, that is very good background and a basic milestone for further activities. Or for example, in Wageningen, they say to explore the potential of nature to improve quality of life. And that is exactly their direction. Or for example, in Lille, that Weisdin told me, feed the world, their motto is feed the world, save the globe. So nowadays, in agriculture, we have three basic components. One is environmental friendly production, and of course, every single production must be socially acceptable and economically visible. But of course, at the same time, we need resilience in agro-ecosystem, economic and social system. So this is mission, vision. I took it from our website, but I don't want to read because, as I told you, it's about the same. There is a kind of template. We want to be as good as possible, and so on and so on. Ambitions, so bio-based economy and decreased importance of natural resources. So this is, in fact, strategy. This is strategy which should be approved and launched by our country, because we have to be in line in these things, and we should think about that. So because of that, as I told you, there is agriculture and related sciences, there is society and well-being, and of course natural resources. And of course, with knowledge of soil, water, ecosystem, climate, soil economics, we are learning to deal more effectively with agriculture and changes with ecosystem. So because of that, we need complex integrated approach. You see one example of soil functions. It's not about agriculture. There are so many soil services, and because of that, we need integrated and multidisciplinary approach. So what are our ambitions? First, to be research-driven institution that provide high-quality science, scientific knowledge, and expertise to the potential stakeholders. So definitely, we should focus on large interdisciplinary projects with more synergy between fundamental and applied research, attracting and training talented researchers. What does it mean? In fact, how many projects do we need at the faculty level? We need few projects, but good projects. I mean, philosophy is very simple. If there is a good project, there is a good budget. If there is a good budget, there is a good research, good publication, and that's it. That is a cycle which works. Of course, we are not able to work like that. But for example, to have as Horizon 2020 or Future Framework 9 as possible. Second one is education should be improved. I took it world class. Of course, if in the case of Boku, in the case of Wageningen, they should talk about it. I would say at regional level, we should improve our to do our best in order to be as good as possible at the regional level. Then strength of economic impact by enhancing economic and social value of our knowledge, and to, of course, improve local, regional, European, and global partners. So these are 4 key points in our ambitions. Of course, we have to think about famous start-up and spin-off. For example, from the Faculty of Technical Science, they would say that they have a lot of spin-offs or start-up, but basically it's not like that. Because that is something different, and we should at least think about that and to use our infrastructure to improve this issue. How to achieve our ambitions? So definitely, at least as far as I'm concerned, what I have noticed, we are facing with the most important problems here at the faculty. One is communication in all levels. Another one is internationalization. So why communication? We have to. I would like to be open completely. We have to improve communication in dean's office, departments, chairs, research groups, and students are in the middle. So both top-down approach, to apply top-down approach, and also bottom-up approach. So in all level to have colloquia, to discuss about research, to discuss about that should be a relaxed meeting with good results. Research, again, communication. Next few slides will be related to communication. At our faculty, we have few outstanding groups. When I say outstanding, that means according to their results, that means number of publications in the referred journals and projects. So there is, for example, medical entomology, agrometeorology, veterinary medicine, soil and plant science, water management, and in some groups there is a good relationship, good communication. Some of them, they have communication with faculties and departments within university, and of course beyond, that means out of university. So faculty should be considered as expertise center, and we have to improve communication with government, that means provincial secretary from agriculture, as well as Ministry of Agriculture. On the other hand, there is a society. So what we have to do in order to improve this communication with government? participation in strategy. So they should ask about strategy, for example, in agriculture. But we should pose ourselves in order to ask us about that strategy. So communication is very important to define focus and priorities, promotion of health, food production. There are also specific problems, for example, in soil organic matter, subsidies in some categories of plants like legumes and so on and so on. So we should be very, very active in order to convince them how some things are important and to implement in their strategy. So that is a kind of communication. Society, of course, public debate, conferences, workshops, journals. There is activities from that point of view. But of course, there is always room to improve that activity. As you can see, again, it's all about RRI. Whatever I mentioned, as I have realized in, let's say, 80% background behind all activities is RRI. So faculty should be bridged between industry and consumers by providing objective information based on scientific research. So we should commitment through Serbian Ministry, Vojvodina Province, Serbian Ministry of Agriculture, local Secretariat of Agriculture, local communities, regional partners, and of course, the most important nowadays, it's EU partners. Again, communication. You see, we need partners in research, but also in education, because we are talking about link research, education, internship, and employment. At the same time, we are thinking that way. We are thinking about students. So there is a faculty, agriculture companies, research institutes, cooperative research projects. Because why that is important? Because they participate in education, propose projects, internship, and job offers for students. When I was in Lille, again, I'm talking about that Vice Dean, who is an amazing person. He told me exactly when we started to discuss, he told me every single day, I quote, every single day, I wake up with one mind in my head, how to find a job for my students. And that is perfect. Do we think about that? And he's talking about both bachelor and master students. But when he showed me cooperation with industry, that was quite enough for me. So that is a system which works. France in agriculture is something very, very specific. It's not so easy to complete diploma in agriculture, but whoever complete, there is no way not to find job, because they have excellent strategy from this point of view. Then there is a farmer. I'm talking just about agronomy, but that is just example. Practice system driven by theory and theory driven by farmers. Also, we have to take into consideration this strategy. Strategic partners, local. And, for example, here in Serbia, there are 3 public agriculture faculties of agriculture: Novi Sad, Belgrade, and Čačak. There is, I will lie if I say that there is no communication. There is communication between these faculties. There is cooperation, but it is kind of, how to say, it's formal. It's not formal. It's not. That is not essential cooperation. So we have to improve that. At regional level, for example, we are coming from Vojvodina province, and we are sharing the same problems with, for example, Timisoara. They are coming from Banat region. Also, it might be considered as Vojvodina province according to soil and water. Segedin, southern part of Hungary, and also there is Osijek. So we are sharing the same problems. So I launched one project, and the people from these faculties will come in July to talk about soil and water problems here in this region. So what is the point? To have kind of background, kind of document, and then to try every single university or faculty, whatever, to try to convince local authorities how that issue is important, and then to start to find budget for resolve that all these problems. Europe, networking is extremely important. We became members of ICA. ICA is, most of them are familiar with that association, European Universities of Life Science. And 6 years ago we became member of CASE, that is a branch which is related to Central and Southern Eastern Europe. And we are very active there together with Boku. Boku, of course, in charge because their former rector Gerzebek, he launched that society, but that is society which works. So many of outstanding agriculture universities of life science are included, such as Czech Republic, Prague, or Warsaw, or Bucharest. So, I'm very satisfied with that network, and that is something which works in our case. Recently, 2 years ago, we became part of Silk Road Agriculture Education Research Education Alliance. I think that today's presentation, today or tomorrow, we shall talk about collaboration. Tomorrow, okay, and then I will introduce you with this network. So as far as I'm concerned, that is really promising network, and I personally think that it will be our participation will be very useful. So of course we have to increase active membership in the societies and global scale. For the time being, I don't know, I think we signed more than 80 memorandum of understanding, but there is one. What is my approach? What is my opinion? So that might be just piece of paper. I don't want to underestimate that any single memorandum, but you know there are a lot of issues which are written in memorandum of understanding. Point is to apply as much as possible from that memorandum. Otherwise, that is a just formal cooperation. So, in any single case, wherever it is possible, we have to do our best in order to apply that in practice. Research. The names of our departments reflect the most important research areas at the faculty. So, there are 8 departments, and diversity, and there is diversity somehow, and that is an essential quality in agriculture. So, why? Because in that case we have background knowledge, training, life experience, expertise to solving problem, and so on and so on. So that is very important to have different things dealing with here at the faculty. Research, this is kind of template, so whatever is template I will skip. So, and as I told you one more time, there is fundamental research, there is applied research, interdisciplinary, and that is agricultural research. Once again, we are talking about agriculture and related science. So, as for projects, as I told you, nowadays we are forced to focus on EU projects. And my strong recommendation to teaching staff, whenever I have opportunity, I always advise, in particular younger people, to do their best in order to be recognizable. Whenever they are somewhere in the meetings, in workshops, in the conference, not to hide behind poster, to be active, to raise their hand, to ask. In that way, somebody will recognize them. So that is the point. That is my strong recommendation to all younger people. How do they should approach to all these activities? It's not so, of course. I really would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Igor and Branislava. They coordinate with 2 Horizon projects, but it is not for real in our case. You know, that for real is something like that, to be recognizable, and then somebody will recognize you and ask you to join the consortium. It works somehow like that. So I wouldn't say that is to coordinate, that is a mission impossible, but it's very difficult. So this first approach is more important for me. Research identification and priorities is objectives. There is a template. It's everywhere is the same. So there are a lot of measures how to improve this research, and I would like just mention those who which are underlined. So number of international projects. I was telling you about the budget. Once again, good budget, good results, good publications, and that is very simple philosophy. Published papers, mobility. Mobility, that is one of the important things in our case, but I would say long-term mobilities, in particular in the case of younger staff. And I will talk about internationalization. Then, what is very important in research, promote research excellence and raise the international profile of our research to attract, develop, and keep outstanding staff and postdoc students, to promote and support multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary research linkage in all levels. Then PhD and postdoc policy, increase standards of research leadership and management, and providing network research plots. I mean, because we have faculty of agriculture, so outdoor activities are very important for us. Apart from laboratory activities, outdoor field experiments are very important for us. So research connection to business sector, engage to stakeholders, in particular small, medium enterprises. You see, it's all about communication. It's all about communication, but behind all is obviously RRI, that approach. Research, these are just so-called sexy words in EU, how they call them in Brussels. We should deal with bioeconomy. As I told you, that is a strategy, renewable energy, waste management, but of course, IT in agriculture. Why IT in agriculture? Because that is I'm running out of time, completely. How many minutes?
Right now, but
okay, 15 minutes more. Okay, some slides I will skip. Okay. Oh, there are so many. Education, this is the most interesting part. So, you see here, as I told you, nowadays we are talking about research-based education. Yesterday there was one yes, I was absent, but I'm very curious, and I suppose that was very nice. So, you know, nowadays we are talking about research-based education. So, it's particularly in the level of master and PhD case. You know, because we are talking about case study. If there is no case study, what we will talk to the students, master and PhD students? And from that point of view, what is the difference between if we have no case study? What is the difference between university professor and secondary school professor? So we need case study. In order to have case study, we need research, and we need research results. Lifelong learning, English stout courses, internationalization, alumni, all these things are very, very important. Maybe it's better to stop this, to leave education for, because there are a lot of, you know, but just would like to pay your attention, because we were talking about education yesterday. Just a few things. Small scale approach in teaching in base following assumption. Each student is an active participant in education process. Okay, that's true. But we professors, teachers, we are those who put much more effort in order to be like that. On the other hand, we need feedback from the students. But if we don't put our efforts, if we don't change ourselves, we can't expect to have students' feedback. Then diversity in background, knowledge and ambitions of students. Education in flexible fashion. Most of us somehow are old-fashioned. We have old-fashioned approach. We have to admit ourselves and to change ourselves. Then lectures learn from each other of learning communities. That means communication between groups to learn from each other. So there is a new shift motivation from how do I pass this course to how do I get the most out from this course. Is that true? Yes, I think completely. Then forced to learn to enable to learn. Vision of education from the point of view. Okay, there is one example. It's a shame because there is no time, but whatever. Quality of students, engagement, students' feedback. You know, there are a lot of things. Strategic plan is something different than one ordinary presentation. Not because I am giving that talk, but it's really like that. So it takes time. So I'm forced, because I'm running out of time, I'm forced to skip most of these slides. Students' activities. We have International Association of Students of Agriculture-related Science. That is, yes, students are completely reluctant in that society, and I've been doing my best in last 6 years in order to approve, to approve that society. It works, you know, like one step further, two steps backward. So it takes time. Finally, I think that they will improve that. They became very active from that point of view, but hopefully it will be better. Then Agromiada, excursion. Excursion must be part of curricula, like it used to be. Not to have touristic excursion, just real part of curricula, like used to be when I was, for example, students. Student profile, tomorrow's engineer. What do we expect? There are 3 key points. Anyhow, I think presentation will be at disposal, isn't it? So whoever is interested in could read that. Okay, we are expecting priority issues. We are expecting accreditation this year, so we will have opportunity to apply all these things. In accreditation, as I told you, we need IT in agriculture. Why? Because everybody are talking about IT. Everybody talking about IT in agriculture. I mean, everybody work in IT in agriculture. So, and very often we wonder where we are in that. But somehow, and at the same time, we realize that we didn't put effort in order to do something in that subject. So we will do that both in bachelor and master course, because everybody are in that line. Internationalization strategy. Just one thing which is underlying: younger teaching staff specialization abroad, which must be more than 6 months. There are many interesting things, but strategy again, what we have to do. It is very important that 6 years ago we established International Research Organization, which is very important. Now we are, as for Erasmus Action K1, we shall be strategic partners, and it will be more and more important. Objective, of course, we have to have infrastructure and environmental objective and measure how to achieve that. And finally, just few words about implementation and progress. Key performance indicators, what we have to do in order to improve our situation in further period. So, to ensure the efficiency of the organization and management of the faculty. So that is a permanent process, but we have to do our best in order to improve that. Financial Commission, strategic investment. We are strongly focused on one project with energy efficiency. We are facing with real huge problem, and now we are work on interact projects such as cross-border in order to improve that situation. Accreditation of teaching process, we will start this year. Increasing number of students, that is a permanent and strategic promotion. As I told you, we are facing a problem because number of students decline, generally speaking, in all this region. To develop scientific excellence, innovation in research and collaboration with business sector. Then develop collaboration with strategic partners. Internationalization, especially we shall definitely we are going to fund the internationalization incentives. And of course, as I mentioned, we shall work on RRI issues. So once again, communication and internationalization, that is the most important things. According to that, key values should be like this. How to implement this plan? Identify a number of priority areas. We shall do it annually and monitor environmental shift course to new development. And finally, I started with this sentence. You know, like in life, there is always it is very important to find the balance. You know, if you are reluctant, if you do nothing, it will be like this. There is no mirror. If you do only with science, it will be like this. If you think only about money, it's not all about money. It's yes, but not all about money. So balance is the most important thing in order to overcome this problem. So this way I'm finishing. So sorry for I was skipping your time, but presentation is like that. Okay, thank you very much.